Kreischer Miller. I'm so excited to be here today. I've been really excited about this day coming. I hope you are too. We have several Kreischer Miller team members joining us today who are also excited to get to know you and share their experiences with you. I hope you already enjoyed hearing from Kelly Spalding, a member of our tax strategies team, in the video that we sent out last week, as well as got a chance to view the virtual tour that we sent out. But that's a live link, so if you didn't get to tour it yet, feel free to do so after today. We've put together a short agenda for you today in the hope that you can experience our culture for yourselves and share that with your students. To give you a little bit of my background, I graduated from Villanova University with a bachelor's degree in accounting. I started with a Big Four firm out of college where I spent the first 5 years of my career in audit. As an auditor, I loved that I was able to not only put my coursework into action, but also get exposure to a variety of industries, as well as have the opportunity to work with an amazing amount of intelligent, experienced individuals, both internally at my firm and externally at my clients. Quite frankly, I learned something new every day. As I was learning more about myself during that time, my likes, my dislikes, I realized that while the debits and credits of accounting gave me the balance that I look for in my life, it was actually connecting with people, helping them get from where they were at to where they wanted to be, that really brought me joy and fulfillment in my life. So I've been involved in recruiting ever since. I'd also like to introduce you to Alyssa George, our HR coordinator, as she handles our on-campus recruitment. So Alyssa.
Thanks, Kristen. So hi everyone, my name is Alyssa George. As Kristen said, I'm the HR coordinator and my main job function is handling campus recruiting, which I absolutely love. For some background on myself, I graduated from Temple University in May 2018, so go Owls. I actually met Kristen at a career fair on campus my junior year and started interning in the HR department and have been with the firm ever since. So please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or reach out to me at ageorge@kmco.com. I would love to partner with you all and just connect with your students as we head into the fall semester. I'm always absolutely open to giving presentations in accounting classes. And we also have a great resource for all of your students posted on our website for students to request a private chat with myself. So I'll leave a link for I'll leave a direct link in the chat box for that resource as well. Students can utilize it however they want to. Some students just want to come on the chat and learn about opportunities we have. Some students utilize the time to do a mock interview or a resume review. So really any way that we can help them and help you guys is the main goal. I look forward to partnering with all of you, and back to you, Kristen.
Thanks, Liz. So to our guests, we encourage you to feel free to ask lots of questions during your visit today. We're pretty laid back here at Kreischer Miller and we love to have fun. So please relax and enjoy your visit with us. Next, I'd like to introduce our amazing managing director, Chris Meshkin-Push. I worked with Chris when I was starting out my career, and he is a huge reason why I came to Kreischer Miller, and even more so why I remain at Kreischer Miller today. I'm thankful he's our leader of our firm, and I can't wait for you to get to know him. So Chris, it's yours.
Well, that's the nicest thing anybody's said to me all day so far. Thank you. Thank all of you for taking some time out of your schedules to talk with us and get to know our firm a little bit better. I just wanted to take a few minutes and sort of paint a picture about who we are and what our position is in the market, and what kind of an opportunity we present for some of your students. So clip note version is we are the largest remaining independent firm in the greater Philadelphia area. All the other firms that look like us have sold to firms outside of the area. what that means for us is that we're now the largest firm that makes all of their decisions locally. And, in normal times, we think that's a great thing. We can deal with clients very quickly, solve their problems without a lot of red tape. In today's environment, we really got to see firsthand some of the benefits. So, while many of the other firms that are, owned by businesses outside of the area had to lay off or furlough employees, we're in a position where we could sit around a table with the 20 partners that we have at the firm and talk about the importance of holding our team together, and avoided making all those sort of drastic moves that could have had a kind of a long-term impact on our team members and the firm as a whole. So that's, a microcosm of sort of the benefits that we think we derive from having everybody in one location. But in general, we love the model. We have 200 people now. It still feels in some ways that, like it did when we had 50 or 70 people. But we have 200 now, but they all work out of one office when we can actually be in the office. Obviously, the current circumstances are a little bit unusual. But having everybody in the same office is something that allows us to better serve our clients. When a client has an issue, whether it's on the accounting side or the tax side, we can walk down the hall and talk to an expert and follow up with clients quickly. What it means for our employees, I think, is even more important, which is that they all have access to other team members to help them grow, and they have a direct line to the leaders of the firm. We have a very sort of flat model at the firm, open door policy. We love to get to know our team members. With 200 people, it takes a little more work than it did when we had 40 or 50. But I think if you were to ask any of our people, they would tell you that they really feel like they have the ear of management, and that everybody chips in to help people grow. In terms of the market that we serve, about 90% of our clients, which is what we do, we serve clients. About 90% of our clients are within driving distance of our office. So in the greater Philadelphia region, although we do serve clients across the country and do have some international travel from time to time. So if we have team members that have an interest in that, we can accommodate that by getting them plugged into some of the projects that we have nationally and internationally. One of the other things that makes us very unique in our market is that our focus is entirely on serving private companies. As, again, the other firms have grown and been acquired by firms outside of the area, many of them have gravitated towards large public companies. And that presents some unique learning opportunities for students, for employees. But one of the downsides is that because of sort of the bright lines in terms of things that you're allowed to do for public companies, it tends to direct people towards a more compliance-oriented approach to work. So I tell you what you have to do as client, and I'll tell you when you're doing it wrong, but I won't help you. Our model serving private companies is entirely the opposite, which is the private companies we work with expect us to be advisors. They want us to provide them with ideas and help them solve problems. Many of them started businesses, in their basement or their garage, and some of them are as large as $2 billion now, but they still have complex issues. They want to know how they can grow their business, how they can expand domestically or internationally, how they should handle their first acquisition, and then maybe farther down the line, how they should handle the exit from their business. And all of those issues are pretty much common across our client base. And by focusing entirely on private companies, we can help our people understand all of those issues and develop the skills that they need to become advisors to private companies. So going back to Kristen's comment about being able to, help people get from where they are to where they want to be, that's the same model we have for our employees. And we hope that helps them, have a better understanding of sort of the purpose of what they do, right? It's easy to get kind of bogged down in preparing a tax return, not a lot of fulfillment in, cranking out 1040s. But when you can view that as part of, helping somebody accomplish their personal or professional goals, it feels a lot more meaningful. So we think we do a much better job of that by allowing our people to work with companies that are large enough to present them with challenges, but small enough that they can get their arms around and really get a sense for what the business is, who the management members are, and what their personal and professional goals are. In terms of the function centers that we have at the firm, we have 5 main lines of business. We have an audit and accounting practice, which is about 60% of our revenue. We have a tax strategies group. about 35%. But then we also have a human capital practice, which is primarily executive recruiting. We have a technology solutions practice that helps our clients evaluate their overall technology strategies and implement solutions that help them achieve their goals. And then finally, we have a business advisory team, which is something that we draw from our other function centers to staff that practice. And that's really where the rubber hits the road in terms of helping our people understand how to solve complex problems with our clients. So if we have a team member that has an interest in M&A, we'll plug them into our business advisory practice and allow them to participate in projects so they can start to develop those skills. And our model for everybody is to constantly challenge them to just try something new. And you may try it, you may not like it. That's fine. Try something else then. If you try enough things, you'll build up a suite of skills that will make you special in the market, and clients will want to work with you. So we just want to expose them to as much as we can, hoping that at some point the light bulb's going to go on and they're going to find their sort of calling in the profession. The last thing that I'll say is just in terms of our culture, I believe we have a really special place. I'm sure everybody says that. We have some data to back it up. Our turnover rate is probably one of the lowest in the industry. We typically have less than 10% turnover, which is astounding. In our industry, it tends to run plus over 20% in most of the firms. If you look at the tenure of our employees, I think the last time we measured it, our employees have stayed with us on average for 7 years, which again is something highly unusual in public accounting. And then the last data point I have is just a recognition that we got last year, which is pretty meaningful to us. So the Philadelphia Inquirer conducts a top workplaces survey every year. In 2019, they named us the #1 mid-sized firm in Philadelphia, not just accounting firm, #1 company, period. So we think all those things sort of, our recognition of the time and energy that we put into building a culture where our people are valued, they get an opportunity to learn, and they feel like they're part of a very good team. So Kristen, is that paint a good enough picture for it?
You did. You kind of stole one of my slides, but.
I'm sorry.
No, thank you very much, Chris.
All right. Well, thank you all again, and I hope you enjoy the time that you spend with the rest of our team. Stay well.
Thanks, Chris.
Sure.
So our objectives today, I want to go back to the next slide. Our objectives today are to give an overview of Kreischer Miller to you all, discuss the recruiting process that we have for your students, and also the career paths that are available to them. If you go to the next slide, which is an overview of our firm, I think Chris touched upon a lot of this. But like I said, we're pretty chill here at Kreischer Miller, so I'm going to go with it. But we are the largest independently owned firm in the Philadelphia area. We have about 200 team members, normally located in Horsham. Right now, we're kind of dispersed amongst the office and our own homes. It's up to each individual's choice as to what they're doing right now. We support our clients in 5 different service areas. Important for our guests to note today that the first 2, audit and accounting and tax strategies, is typically where we recruit students in entry level. So we're typically not posting positions on campus for business advisory. It's a little hard to advise a client when you don't have any experience. So the first 2 areas are really where we look to come to campus and recruit candidates. Like Chris mentioned, our culture is second to none. We've been voted best places to work. We held the #1 spot last year. If you look at our Glassdoor reviews, we are very highly rated by both candidates and our own team members, which is a nice honor. And again, like Chris mentioned, our niche is privately held firms. We don't audit the SEC regulated companies like Campbell's or Comcast. Our clients typically fall in more of a range of $200 to $500 million in revenue, which, like Chris said, gives our people the opportunity to work directly with a business owner, which is exciting when you're right out of college. Our next slide covers the 11 different industry groups that our clients typically fall into. At Kreischer Miller, we think it's really important for team members to choose their own career path. So, for example, if someone starts an audit internship, they typically get what I call the full buffet. They'll get a manufacturing client here, an investment client there, and I can tell you from my own experience that, you know, I would have thought that I would have loved the financial service industry when I was first starting out. Banking was a high profile industry group where I started. Who doesn't think money and investments sounds exciting? Yet when I actually went out to those clients, surprisingly, I was bored. I was feeling that I was just looking at a series of transactions on paper. And then when I went out to my manufacturing clients, which, you know, several years ago was a male-dominated industry, you know, you don't even have your clean manufacturing plants, but yet I could go into the plant and see the product in various stages. And now all the things that I learned in the classroom, like that's WIP, right? That's work in process when you're in the plant. That stuff started making sense to me, and I found it more enjoyable. And I think that ultimately, if you enjoy what you're doing, you're going to be more successful. And that's why our philosophy is to offer broad experience to everyone initially, so that they can see for themselves what they like and what they don't like. And then we adjust their client base to suit their career interests from there. I also want to mention that based on our size, when someone starts with us, whether it's in an internship or full-time, we ask them to choose one service area, either audit or tax. So at our firm, they don't get a mix of both. A lot of times I'll get the question, can people switch? And we have had team members ultimately decide that they might be better suited for another service area. We just ask them to give their initial choice service area 2 years before they make that decision, just so that they can see everything that they'd be exposed to in that service area. So in the next slide, we laid out the opportunities for students, and this is also something that we can send out to everyone after today. The first event that we have is our open house, which is typically for freshmen and sophomores. Honestly, anyone can really come. So if there's a junior that's, you know, late in the process or transferred in, something like that, we really don't turn anyone down. But we target it to freshmen and sophomores because it's a good first step. It's an event that is very relaxed. They don't need to interview to come. They get to see our office, meet our team, and expand their network. So it's a great way for them to start exploring. Typically, students apply for this in the fall semester, and the event is held normally at our office in November. The next step in our process is our summer leadership program, which is called the CAM Experience. That takes place typically in the second week of June. Students do have to interview and be selected for this. So these are students that are typically the high achievers. They know they want an internship. They plan their schedule accordingly. Ideally, we look to hire all of our interns from this event, because that helps us take that out of the fall recruiting process. So some details on our internships. They are full-time during the busy season. So students will actually take their spring semester classes in the summer, or if that's not an option, you know, they've configured their schedule to allow for a full-time internship during this time. So this can be an obstacle for someone who either hasn't given it prior thought, or whose school, you know, may not have that as part of their curriculum, but it is something that students can typically configure into their schedule. And then lastly, our full-time positions, those are for seniors, either in a 4-year program, or SUP seniors in a 5-year program. This is posted in the fall semester. This is our busy time. We go on campus in the fall, we interview. Now we'll be doing it virtually. And we're hiring students that are graduating for the following year. So we have start dates either in the October timeframe or in January. So again, the students will apply in the fall semester and interview, and they typically have a full-time offer by December, which is nice. Regarding training, we offer a week and a half to 2 weeks of classroom training in both October and January. Our interns sit through the same exact training that our full-time staff sit through, which I believe speaks to the strength and value of our internship program. Students get to see exactly what it's like to go through busy season. They're given the same work as a first year. And really the only difference is that they haven't been hired full-time yet. Again, we do look to hire our interns. It's not a guarantee. It depends on how well they do, but it is our goal to hire them. And long-term regarding training, everyone is enrolled in our CAM University, which offers continued learning and the required CPE, to all team members. In our next slide on culture, I would say Kreischer Miller is known for its nurturing team environment. It's not unlikely to see a staff or senior sitting with a manager or director at their desks. And while we have titles for the purposes of assigning work, they're not listed on our business cards, they're not on our workstations. It's a very much a team environment, and we're known, also well known for idea collaboration. Input is sought in our town halls that Chris holds, as well as year-round, and there are also numerous opportunities for team members to interact across all service lines, whether it's our monthly birthday celebration, our RISE networking events, our Kreischer Miller sports teams, firm training, our KM Cares program, our wellness challenges. So we really live by our motto, it's all about we. And every new hire is also assigned a buddy to assist them in their transition to Kreischer Miller. So everyone that starts with Kreischer Miller is assigned a buddy for the first year to help them assimilate, and then career counselors are assigned to them after they've been with the firm for a full year. The next slide, I've listed some key attributes that we look for. I think they're pretty self-explanatory, so I won't spend too much time going through them. And we've also just included some pictures of our team members in our environment for you, since you can't experience it yet today. Next, I think I want to see if we have our panelists, if they're here. So we've assembled a group of Kreischer Miller team members with various backgrounds for you guys today to offer insight into the accounting industry and the world of Kreischer Miller. Again, I'll ask if you can share questions in the chat. And now I'm going to ask each of our panelists to introduce yourself, maybe provide the school you went to, your employment history, the service area, and how long you've been with the firm. Matt, do you want to start off?
Sure. Thanks, Kristen. Hey guys, my name is Matt Romig. I grew up in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I went to Westchester University and graduated in 2016. I now live in Fishtown in Philly, and I started at Kreischer Miller as a staff in 2017. So I've been here about 3.5 years now, and I'm a tax senior now.
Thanks, Matt. Ashley, do you want to go?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Ashley Jiang. I'm from China. I came to the States in the 2012. I went to college in Zhongnan University of Economics and Law in China, and I came here for a master's degree at the College of William & Mary in Virginia. I I worked for a tax firm and also an asset management firm before I joined KM. I'm in the investment industry group for 5 years. Now I'm an audit senior in the investment group.
Thanks, Ash. Mustafa?
Hi, everyone. My apologies for the face mask. Can anyone hear me well?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great. So my name is Mustafa. I'm a tax senior at Kreischer Miller. I have been working with the firm for almost 3 years now. I graduated with a Bachelor of Accounting from Wilmington University, and I am from Wakanda.
Thanks, Moose. And we also have Shayna.
Hi, my name is Shayna. I am a senior at Westchester University. I'll be graduating in December. I did an internship this last busy season during the coronavirus, so that was fun. Yeah, so that's it.
Thanks. So we'll start off, and Alyssa's going to help me with asking questions. Maybe each of you could go through why you chose Kreischer Miller and maybe what makes it a little different from some of the other firms that you considered. Moose, I'm going to send that to you.
So I have previously worked at a larger regional firm for a couple of years before joining Kreischer Miller. My main deciding factor was that Kreischer Miller felt more like a family, and there was more work balance involved. So those are the main reasons why Kreischer Miller, I think, was the best fit for me.
Ashley, do you want to go?
Sure. When I looked for a job 5 years ago, I went to Philly.com and I saw there are like a list of names of companies that are the top workplaces, and KM was on top of it. So I applied for it, and Kristen called me back in the same day. And when I joined KM, I just realized my group, I started off directly in the investment group, and my group, the people in my group are just so friendly. And I remember last year when I had my baby, they actually threw a baby shower, a surprise baby shower for me. They actually arranged a work meeting ahead of time so I wouldn't be suspicious about it. And then when I was on my way walking back to my desk, everybody, including the director, manager, and all the people in my group, and Kristen was there too, and they were all waiting in the kitchen for me. And I was like so surprised. I was in shock and I burst into tears. And they had cake for me, all different kinds of gifts. And at that time, I felt like I was the smallest, like in rank, but everybody treated me as like, yeah, I was like really moved at that moment. So that goes to show KM's work environment. They treat you as a person, not just a number, you know? So, and I think that's one of the reasons why KM keeps ranking the top of the top workplaces.
Thanks, Ash.
You're welcome.
Shayna, how about you, from a student's perspective?
So I actually am not a traditional student. I spent the last 10 years working in a large retail pharmacy. And so when I was looking to change careers and find a new place to work, I was really looking for a place where I wasn't going to be just a number. I wanted to, you know, be a person, and I wanted the people that I was working with to want to help me move forward in my career, which I didn't get when I worked for the large pharmacy. So I came to a couple different KM activities. So I did an experience, and I also did another type of experience. It wasn't an actual KM experience, I don't think, but it was similar. And I just immediately, when I walked in the door, everyone was just so friendly. And I just really got that vibe that it was going to be a place where everyone wanted to help everyone. And when I started my internship, it really just proved to be true.
Thanks, Shayna. Matt, I'm going to throw it to you.
Sure, yeah, basically what Shana just said, I went through kind of the same steps. I attended the KM experience right out of school, and I mean, everyone I met just right off the bat was awesome and down to earth and easy to talk to, and I was basically sold right away from that. I just had a blast that day. And even some of the people I met that day, I'm still friends with to this day, and some of them aren't at KM anymore, but you know, we still catch up here and there. So it was definitely the people for me.
Great. So looks like we have a message in the question in the chat about how artificial information will impact your industry. Have any of you experienced that yet? Or I'm sorry, artificial intelligence. Have any of you experienced that yet, where you're seeing that in your work? So I'll take that one.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Moose.
Yeah, so I think it's helping us actually. And with the COVID-19 and everything going on, we realized that technology can be a friend. I feel like when automation was first introduced into accounting, people were afraid that you were going to lose jobs to computers and machines. But over time, we realized that, especially in tax, I'm going to speak just for tax, not for audit. The tax law is constantly changing, and there's no way a machine can always adapt. So so we are actually more valuable now, and with the help of machine, we can actually achieve more in much less time. So that'll be my outlook for the future with machine and taxes. I think it offers opportunities.
Great, thanks, Moose. I would also, oh, go ahead, Ash.
Oh, I just want to mention one small point that I know the blockchain technology is going to help with the audit industry, especially with big data industry. For like investment industry, we have a lot of like bank security transactions, dividends, and corporate actions transactions that are directly downloaded from the bank. What I heard about the blockchain technology is that the journal entries are actually verified across the whole blockchain system. So in the future, the transactions are self-verified. So that will reduce significantly how much audit work to do that part of transaction testing. But I think one challenge obviously is that will reduce the need of auditors. But I think at the same time, it can shift our focus from the detailed transaction testing to more analytical procedures, which are not really what the machine can do.
Thanks, Ashley. Yeah, I see a lot of efficiencies being created, which will help impact our industry a lot. Another question in the chat is how our campus recruiting strategy has changed as a result of COVID. I guess I'll take that one. So, you know, in one way it hasn't changed in that we're still planning on doing our interviews and things like that. It's just not going to be in person. It's going to be through this virtual format. You know, a year ago, had you asked me, you know, what I thought about virtual interviews, and I would have said absolutely not. It needs to be in person. And you know, now that we've been doing this for 4, 5, 6 months, I think people are getting more comfortable with it. I do think that you can get someone's personality in this medium. It is still a little clunky, you know. I still never know where to look, right? I'm trying to look at people, and you know, so I'm not really looking at the screen, and you know, so that's a little clunky. But overall, I do think that doing virtual interviews, you can come to the same conclusion to move someone through the process. So we are still posting our jobs and planning on doing interviews. We will just be doing them virtually. We'll be adapting to the virtual career fairs, and also instead of going out to campus to do presentations on campus. We'll now be doing them in this format. So it hasn't changed too much, but I will say I think it's opened up a lot of options for us because, you know, now we can record a presentation and send it out to multiple schools instead of, you know, maybe the few that logistically we could only get to. I also think it makes it a lot easier for students that are attending schools that aren't necessarily local to us. It's easier for us to interview them and not have them come to the office. And so all the logistics have kind of been taken out of the process and is making it more efficient. So if there's any other questions, if I didn't answer that specifically, someone, you know, question, let me know, but I think it's pretty much, you know, not going to change too much.
Yeah. And I 100% agree. I actually conducted this previous spring, most of the interviews for the KM experience we just hosted in June. I conducted about 80% of them virtually. And I agree with Kristen, like at first I was kind of nervous because I've always preferred and always done in-person interviews, but I found that I'm able to read a student's personality the same. Students have been amazing with, you know, still dressing in business professional, finding a quiet space to interview, that kind of thing. So definitely same strategy. I think one of my personal goals is to help students feel more comfortable and just let them know that like recruiters are in the same situation as they are, because I've met a lot of students who are nervous and reach out to me ahead of time and say like, how can I make a good impression not seeing you in person? So I'm always just trying to encourage students that they definitely can do all of those same things to make a good impression virtually that they could do in person.
Alyssa, maybe you can talk about any of the virtual events that you've attended. I know they've been limited so far, so we don't have a ton of experience to pull from, but maybe you can talk about some of the virtual events and what you either liked or didn't like about them.
Yeah, so I've only attended a couple as of right now. I am looking forward to attending Handshake virtual careers that are coming up, because I know that you can have video and audio conversations with students. I can say I haven't enjoyed the career fairs as much where it's strictly text-based chat, because it's harder to, you know, get to know a student that way when you're not able to speak via audio or video. And I know Handshake is just coming out with their platform now, so I'm hoping that it'll be good, because that's most of the events we're attending in the fall are going to be conducted through Handshake's platform.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Hopefully, let me know, Maureen, if that didn't answer that question.
I'm going to throw it back to our panelists. I know that not everyone knows what they want to do when they're in college. So can you guys address why you chose public accounting over private industry? I know that's a big question we get from students.
Yeah.
Ashley, I'll start with you. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So let me start with accounting. My husband is an archaeologist. This is what he told me, that all the ancient civilizations invented writing to keep track of things. To keep track of things, that is essentially accounting, right? So we as accountants, we think we're just sitting in front of the computer, crunching numbers all day, but actually we are the glue of the society. And when it comes to private versus public, because we are the external independent auditors or tax practitioners, we provide a more objective, independent, and external opinion, which will keep the internal people more honest. So if we say accounting as a whole is the glue of society, we can say private accounting is the normal glue and public accounting would be the super glue. So that, that's my take on private versus public. And also public can provide you with more opportunities and challenges, as Kristen was mentioning about different industries for you to explore. I've heard like people would go to factories and go to diamond, like jewelers to count diamonds. And so like you can see there are so many fun things you can do in this industry. And later down the road, when you figure out which industry you're more interested in, it's never too late to jump into that one specific industry as an internal or private accountant. So that's my take on it.
Thanks, Ash.
Welcome.
Moose, do you have anything to add?
Well, it's hard that you're picking up on me right after Ashley's perfect comments. Great job, Ashley. So whatever Ashley said, and also I would like to add that during this COVID-19, we heard about essential personnel, healthcare workers, and stuff, and yeah, God bless them. They are wonderful. They're saving lives, but notice that accountants were also listed as essential personnel, I believe. And that shows the work we do for our community. And to the question, why public over private specifically? Private is one industry, mainly most of the time, or you specialize into receivable, payables, or payroll. But in public accounting, we get the opportunity to sit and pass our CPA exam, a credential that's recognized all over the world. Even when I go back home in Africa, people think I'm a rock star or something. I don't know, I'm just a CPA here. But it goes to show the value that public accounting will challenge you. It's not gonna be easy. Busy season sucks. Sorry, wherever you are, it's hard. But the more challenged you are, the more you learn. And that's why I take public accounting. Get out of my comfort zone, learn as much as I can in a shorter time period. And then, you could always, decide on, like Ashley said, what industry you like best or what your options are. So public over private any day.
Thank you. Not that we're all not biased, right? So I haven't seen Shana in a while. I'm going to kick a question to her because a lot of students might be trying to decide between audit and tax. Can you give an overview of the work that you did in your internship for everyone?
Yeah, so basically I did various different levels of individual and trust, and then I also did some gift tax returns. That was basically like the things that I worked on. And it was all the work that, like beginning level staff would do. So I felt like I was very included in working on this, and everybody that I worked with was like aware of like the clients and what was going on. So I got to work with different people as I did these different returns, which I really enjoyed. So like if I was working on, I worked on a gift tax return with Matt, and like he would come to my desk and he would help me. And so it was really like a very collaborative thing when you worked by yourself, but you also got to collaborate with people, which I enjoyed.
Great. I'm seeing a message or a question in the chat. If our school only has business management as a major and there are students interested in accounting, what advice would you recommend we share with these students that who might be interested in Kreischer Miller? So if you don't have an if I'm getting this wrong, if you don't have an accounting major, I would just advise them that there are certain accounting requirements, classes that they would need to have in order to pass the CPA exam, which would be something that would be expected of them if they come to work for Kreischer Miller. So just making sure that, they're familiar with, that they take those classes if they're offered at your school. If not, they can take it at an online course somewhere. We're fine with that. So hopefully that answers that question, but please elaborate further if I didn't answer that. Regarding the question about if we require candidates to complete any portions of the CPA exam prior to hiring. We require that somebody has the 150 credits before they start with us. We try and take that out of the equation so that they can focus on the CPA exam while they're working with us. So we don't expect students to have any parts of the CPA exam passed before they start. And we do give them time to study if they're unassigned at Kreischer Miller. There are programs like Masters in Accounting programs that have the CPA review course incorporated into their program. So we do have some people that do come with like 1 or 2 parts, but it's rare that someone right out of school would have all 4 parts to begin with. We do assist with studying with the CPA exam. We will pay for a review course up front. We set it up as an interest-free loan. So the new hire, you know, they can say they graduate in May, they can sign up for whether it's Becker or Surgeon, get all the materials, the invoice goes directly to us. And then when they start, they will pay that back through a payroll deduction. This has actually worked really well for our people because it makes them have a little skin in the game. So if they pass the exam within the first 2 years of their start date, they get a bonus, which, you know, will then cover the costs. So it really incentivizes them to pass the exam within that first 2 years because they're going to get that money back, and even a little more so. So we do assist the grads with that. We have materials on site as well. We kind of have like a free library. So there's flashcards that we get from Becker and so forth that we can loan out to students so that they don't have to purchase, or new hires, sorry, so that they don't have to purchase it themselves. We do bring in people to kind of give a heads up on how to plan to pass the exam. So we do bring in Becker to our training. What else do we do? If someone is unassigned, they are expected to study at their desk if they haven't passed the exam. So we essentially will pay them to study. And I have heard of different people, you know, kind of having study groups. So say somebody works and has roommates and it's not conducive to going home and studying. I've seen people partner up, grab a conference room at the end of the day, and they just encourage each other to study. So we definitely support our team members in passing the exam. At our firm, you have to have your CPA in order to make it to the manager level. So really not crazy pressure as a staff or a senior. Once you're hitting a few years of the senior level, then, you know, yeah, you really should be getting that done in order to make it to the next level of manager. I hope I answered those questions. And then, so I'm going to bounce back to another question regarding the audit and tax. Ashley, maybe you could talk a little bit about what you do on the audit side.
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I can only speak for the investment group. I know the AA General would have other industries that they have experience with. So for my group, I'm sorry, like, did you want me to describe the detail of my work or just?
Yeah, just kind of the day-to-day functions, what you do in audit to give it, to help the, you know, career service or professors on, you know, that are our guests, relay that information to a student if they were trying to decide between audit or tax.
Gotcha. So I worked at a tax firm, a very small one, before I joined KM. And I think when I was a tax practitioner, my hours were more like spread out, were more like intensive around the deadline, like 4:15 and 10:15. But for audit, our hours are more spread out. Like we have work of course, like during the busy season from January, April is the busiest time, but the hours are not as intense around the 4:15 time period. And for the work itself, I think for my group, we are able to download all the data directly from the internet, the banks, the custodian banks of the asset management firms. So we don't really travel as much as the other auditors. So I would say I only travel up to 1 or 2 months per year, but I know like for other auditors, they could travel up to like 50%, 60% of their time. And also, I think we get to use Excel a lot. We can have more experience with like pivot table, VLOOKUPs, and get to practice more of the Excel aspect of that. Yeah, that's all I can think of for now. I would keep thinking about it. Yep.
And I just want to clarify, when Ashley was talking about travel, she means travel to the client location. So the majority of our people aren't traveling, getting on a plane, going out of town, that kind of thing. That's kind of one of the benefits, is that the majority of our clients, since we're regional, are located, I would say pretty much within an hour, hour and a half radius of our office.
Right.
So
Can I add something? Can I add something on top of that? I just thought of, so my group has another perk, is that even though we don't travel as much, but when we do travel, we travel really far. We have a really big pension plan that we do due diligence exams for. So because the managers are located across the world, so like you have opportunities to visit London, Switzerland, France, and all the cool places every other year.
Thanks for that little plug.
You're welcome.
Investment industry groups likes to promote their high-end travel. I see a question from Rebecca about any additional certifications recommended related to blockchain, big data, AI. You know, right now I would say there's not necessarily something that a student has to have before coming in. You know, we basically know that the schools that are on our guests today and that we work with, their curriculum is usually pretty, we expect that the students are well trained when they get here, and that we will provide any kind of training that they need. Depending on what they focus on, there can be different certifications that will help them. We prioritize the CPA exam first, but if someone is interested in getting like a certified, the CFE or a CVA, we do support that as well. It could be their master's in tax. It could be a certification, a technical certification. So we primarily push the CPA first, but then after that, we do support people in getting additional certifications, continuing their professional development. If that's not done internally through our KM University, then we either bring in someone, an expert, to train us at our office, or we'll do remote learning through webinars, or in non-COVID times, we also send people out to training if it's either industry specific or something like that. So I hope I answered that question. Shana, what kind of career advice can you give our guests for students still in school?
So there's two things that I think I would recommend. The first was actually some advice I got from a director at KM, which is just to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, because that's when you're actually going to start growing and you're going to start to learn things. So definitely push yourself. If you're comfortable, you're not going to be growing. And the other thing that I would recommend for your students that I wish I had done more of was to use the resources that they have available to them. So you're there on campus, you can help them with learning things. So make sure that the students, that they're getting that information from you, that they know that you're available. Obviously they do, but just to make sure that they're using those resources, because the more that you can learn in school and the more advice that you can get, the more you're going to be successful. There's no such thing as bad advice. Like, I mean, they have to take it for themselves, but the more information you can get, the more you're going to learn.
Thanks. And I hate to put you on the spot again, but since you were involved in our first, COVID crisis internship, maybe you can talk about your experience. You were in the office initially and then had to work from home. So if you could maybe speak to, how that felt as a student and how the firm handled it, and maybe the differences in the work styles.
Yeah, so I didn't really feel like there was much of a difference for me, because everyone was so available to help. It was just the way that you got that help. So when I worked in the office, I could just, call someone on the phone and ask for their help, or, if they didn't answer, send them an email or just walk to their desk, and nobody ever had a problem with that. But when you're working from home, you have to kind of, I would just look for someone that was available on the Teams. So anyone that was available on Teams, I would ask them if they could help me with something, and they always were available. I never had anyone tell me that they wouldn't help me, even if it wasn't their client. Like, they were always willing to help. I had a couple people that were my go-to because they always worked at the same time as me, but everyone was always available, and I felt like KM was very prepared for this. I've heard of some other people that they weren't as prepared and they didn't really think through what they were going to do, and they just didn't think about it. And I felt like it was a very seamless transition. I didn't feel like there was any real major hiccups. I mean, you're going to have hiccups when you're changing things over, but I didn't feel like there was any major hiccups. So I thought it was great.
Thanks, Dana. And then while we have you, or if Moose, if you want to take this one and give Shayna a little break, since we heard from Ashley on the audit side, does someone on the tax side want to just speak on a day in the life as a tax person at KM? Moose or Shayna, whoever wants to take that one.
I actually take that one.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Matt.
That's all right. So I think kind of similar to what Ashley said about the travel, that's one of the biggest differences is that audit. They would probably be traveling more than a tax staff or senior. I still do get to travel though. I do like to travel when we get out to a client. Like Kristen mentioned, it's not too far, but it is cool to get out and kind of, meet everyone that you're working with over email or phone calls usually, and kind of see their office or, their headquarters and stuff. So that's one difference. As for the work itself in tax, I was really excited to learn when I started that you start out with a wide variety of, 1040s, corporate returns, trust returns of all different sizes and all different industries and everything. So you don't get streamlined into one thing, and you really basically control what you want to work on as you move forward and try all these different tax returns, because definitely annually, but probably more often you'll talk to your scheduler, and one of the biggest questions she asks is, what do you enjoy? What should I look for as things open up? And slowly but surely you'll kind of get into where you want to be and work more on the items that you want to be working on. So that was one of the biggest things that I liked about tax.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. And if we have time, I'll do another question if one comes in. But Matt, do you also want to hit on what busy season is really like at KM if we have time?
We good, Kristen?
Yeah, we're good. We can stay on later.
Okay. Yeah. So I was a little nervous going into my first one just because of, what you hear about tax season and long hours and everything. But generally you're expected 55 to 60 hours, and you don't really jump right into that. So I started in January, and little by little through January and February, you'll go from your 40 hours to 45 to 50. And then, you kind of ease into the 60 hours. And there are ways, I know a lot of people at KM especially, that they kind of break up their day, whether it's we have an on-site gym. I know a lot of people like to go down there, whether it's at lunch or, right before dinner or something. And that kind of helps to break up the hours instead of just working, 9 or 10 hours straight through. A lot of people there's a nice outdoor walking path, right, basically connected to the office. A lot of people take advantage of that and either bike or walk or run when it's nicer out. Things like that definitely helped a lot. And, everyone's in it together. So everyone at Kreischer Miller, even if you're just walking into the kitchen and talking to someone, that always helped me break up the day as well. Aside from that, we get dinners during the week and lunches on Saturday. So that's a pretty good perk. But it's definitely manageable. And like I said, the people and your peers are there every step of the way to help you through it, especially your first year.
Thanks, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
And just to elaborate on our internship program to our guests, our interns do, since they're working full-time during the busy season, they do work overtime. They seem to love it since they're getting paid by the hour, but we do want them to experience, the full experience of what it's like to work busy season. So typically, I would say on the audit side, our target hours are 50 hours a week for busy season. On tax, it's a little bit different because the work comes in not at the same time. So I would say January, they're doing a lot of training, and that they may not even be working a full 40-hour week. But as work comes in starting February, we'll add to that. So it might be 45 hours, climbing to 50, so as more work comes in, we let them know they can stay longer. But I just want to, in case people have that kind of question or get asked that by students, this is not a cushy internship in terms of, I think it's enjoyable, but they get to see the real deal. So they're not just doing grunt work. They're not making copies or anything like that. They get their own assignments. They're functioning like a staff person. I think I mentioned before, they just haven't been hired as a staff person yet. So they all get their own equipment, and they're really treated as individuals as the other team members. I just want to see if there's any other questions before we start to wrap up. I want to thank everyone for participating today. Anyone else on our panel have anything that they wanted to share that we didn't ask to share with our guests? Nope. Okay. Sally, I'll throw it back to you in case you want to wrap up. I just want to thank everyone for attending. Thank you to our panelists for participating. I know it's right before the tax deadline, so I'm really appreciative to you guys in tax. And we would love to see more of all of you. So if you have further questions, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. Sally can give anyone's contact information that was involved on the panel today. Connect with us on LinkedIn, but we'd love to be seeing more of your students. And if there's anything that we can do to, help out in the classroom, present, virtually, I'm assuming most everyone will be virtual this fall. Let us know what we can do. So Sally, I'll throw it back to you.
Great. Well, thank you to the team at Kreischer Miller for an awesome Eastern ACE professional exchange. Sounds like a great place to work. And I know just from firsthand that you all are very accessible to answer any questions that career services staff or students might have. So I want to thank everyone for taking time to be on the call today. And I'll see you at the next professional exchange. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for attending. And I see one quick question. Yes, we are on Handshake if you want to connect with us there.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Great. I'm going to end it. Thanks.
Thank you, Sally.